Hi class, this is Dr. Karsten, and I'm going to be going over the Lesson 1 math review for the quiz that we will be having. And I'm going to be going over the problems in a couple different ways, so I hope that these help you out. And I will be giving you a link so that you'll be able to study for our quiz. If you have any questions, you can come to office hours or reach out through our Google Classroom. You know that we are always available to help you. So let's get started. So problem number 1 in our review says that Kristen has a collection of 50,274 stickers. What is this number written in expanded form? Well, first, wow, that is absolutely amazing. I am going to show you 3 different ways to do this. If you understand the first way, you are free to fast forward through the second and third ways. So here we go. So the first way that I would do this is if I'm really good at taking this word form and turning it into expanded form, then I can just go ahead and do this. Now, one hint I have for everyone right away is do not look at the answers. Instead, go ahead and write what you think it is yourself and then compare your work to the answers. So that's what I'm actually going to go ahead and do right away. So first I'm going to take the 50,000 and I'm going to write 50,000. Now I need to do the 274. So first let me focus on the hundreds, which is 200. Now I need to focus on the 70. And then I need to focus on the 4. So if you are really, really good at writing expanded form from word form, you would already have your answer. But I'm going to guess that a lot of us are going to struggle with this and are going to think that this was actually a pretty hard thing to do. So there are 2 other ways that I have taught you to do this. The first one is that you could actually go ahead and use a place value chart, and that could really help you out. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to quick make one. So I'm going to have my ones, and then I'm going to have my tens, and I'm going to run out of room, so I apologize. But I'm going to just write hun for hundreds, and I'm going to put a th for thousands, and then I'm going to write 10,000s here. Okay, so now what I can do is I can take this word form and I can try and put it in here. So for example, here it says 50,000, and I know that that means I'm going to have 5, 10, because whenever I see ty, it just means tens. So if I saw 4t, t just means tens, 4 tens. If I saw 30, the t just means 10, so I'd have 3 tens. If I have 6t, it means 6 tens, and 50 just means 5 tens. So but now it's 5 10 thousands. So I'm going to put a 5 here. I do not have any plain old thousands. I do have 200s. I have 74. So how would I write that? Well, 7t means 7 tens, and then 4 ones. And now what you can do is remember that you can go ahead and take this number, and this is the other way that it's actually going to be related to the last way that I was going to show you, is that I could go ahead and I can just take each number and write them, but I can write them with the appropriate number of zeros that they would have to have. So 7 tens would be 70 with a 0, 7 with a 0, 200s would be 200, I would have no thousands, and then I'd have 5 10,000s, which again would be 50,000. So here I have the same exact numbers that I got the first time. Now the last way that I wanted to show you, which might actually be more useful to you if you ever had to do this from just plain old standard form, is I'm going to go ahead and take this number, I'm going to write it in standard form. So I have my 50,000, 274. Again, this is my thousands period, this is my hundreds period. And then that other cool little trick that I taught you guys is that you can take each one of these digits from this number, write it by itself, and then add in all the zeros that it needs. So watch. If I want to deal with this 5 digit right here that's in the 10,000s, I could write a 5 and then add all the zeros in to the right. Now I have no thousands, but I do have 200, so I can bring that digit down and then make the rest zeros. I can bring my 7 down and put a 0 here and bring my 4 down. So that's a nice, easy way for you to do this one. Okay, so that was 3 ways you could do this. So given that, I am hoping that you guys all notice this obvious mistake right here that messes that answer choice up. Then I look at this one and I see that this is where my mistake is because it's 5,000, not 50,000. This one's looking good. I have 50,000, check. 200, check. 70, check. And 4, check. So that's my answer. But I always peek at that last one to make sure that it's not the right answer, because sometimes I might make a silly mistake and get tricked. But I have to say, this looks like we did a great job, and C is the correct answer. All right, so let's take a look at the next one. So for this one, it says, how can you show, oops, sorry, let me get it straight. How can you show 432,860 in different ways? Write your answers in the blanks. So this is the one where we are going to be scooping, and I hope that everyone remembers how to do that scoop that I talked about. So if I am looking, I'm going to do the easy one first. This is the super easy one. When they are asking you to take a number and just write it as the ones, you're just scooping the whole number. I'm just going to scoop this whole thing and just write it as is. Remember, I'm going to scoop it to the ones place. That's my ones place where that 0 is. So I can just go ahead and write 432,860. So that was super easy. Now, let's remember where our tens place is. Our tens place is right here. So if I want to rewrite this as all tens, and there are no ones, and that's why they don't have plus 0 ones after it. If I wanted to write it as all tens, I can scoop or I can smush, and that's how I can get my tens. So for this one, I would actually just write this number right here, and I want to kind of circle it with a lighter color. So I'm going to smush it all into the tens place. Now the other way that you may remember this, I'm going to go ahead and make us another place value chart to do this one. Let me just cap my pen so it doesn't dry out. So I'm going to make a new place value chart. Now I do have to go to the 100,000s for this one. So here's my ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. And I'm just going to go ahead and write that number there. Now remember, the easier way might be to start on the right side and say I have 0 ones, so I'm going to put 0 ones. I have 6 tens, put my 6 tens, my 800s. I like to include that comma to help you guys out. I have 2 thousands, I have 3 10,000s, and I have 4 100,000s. Now remember, if I want to show this, and let me see if I have another color pen. I'm afraid to hit pause because sometimes I have little glitches when I do with this camera. So let me see. I do have something I can use here to help us smush a little bit. Okay, so remember, this was asking me for my tens. Here's my tens. So what I want to do is I want to smush all of this and stick it in that tens place. And if I do that, if I'm converting these 100,000s into tens, and these 10,000s into tens, and these thousands into tens, and these hundreds into tens, I need to smush all those things in here, and I'm going to end up with 4, 3, 2, 8, 6 tens, but now I have to figure out where do I put my comma. I put it right there. So I end up with 43,286 tens and 0 ones. So I can go ahead and write this right here. So remember, we just kind of smush it into the place value we're interested in. So since they wanted tens, I smushed it, or I slid it down into the tens. That's the algorithm. What I really did was I turned all these into tens. I went to the bank and I exchanged all these things and got all $10 bills. So remember, that was the other way to think about it. So I'm going to write 43,286 tens. All right. So now, oh, and I wish it wasn't so blurry. If I move it over, it gets a little more clear. I'm gonna have to work with this camera again. I haven't had it out since June. June was the last time I made videos with it, so I'll work on getting it a little more clear for us. But you guys have this paper too. All right, so now we're going up to the harder part of this. which is that we need to work with finding the thousands, and then it gave us 800s, the tens, and the ones. So now, because they're asking us to turn this into thousands, what I would do is I would smush these numbers into the thousands. So here's the thousands place. So I'm going to move this 4 and this 3 and smush it over or slide it over. Or I could scoop and I could say, oh, well, let me scoop the thousands. That would be fine too. And so what I end up with is 432 thousands. So again, I'm just pushing those numbers down. So I'd have 432 thousands. And then I'm keeping my 800s, which is just 800s. It just stays the same. And then I just have the 6 tens. So the 6 tens are right here. So I just have my 6 tens. So those all just stayed the same. So really you just had to convert or decompose your 4, your 3, and your 2 and put them all into thousands. So what I did was I took this 400,000 and I moved it into the thousands. I converted them or I exchanged them, however you want to think about them. Okay, renamed them, all those wonderful things. Okay, so let's take a look at this problem. Again, I'm afraid to adjust the focus right now because my camera's being a little picky, but I'll work on it. So it says, look at the place value chart below. And here you can see that we have 800,000, 10 thousands, which would be the same as 50 thousands, or 5 10,000s, 50 10,000s. I have 7,000s, 700s, 5 tens, and 3 ones. And this one's saying, how does the value of the 7 in the thousands place compare with the value of the 7 to its right? So let's just first find this. They're talking to us about the 7 in the thousands place. That's this one. Here's my thousands. And they want me to compare it to the value of the 7 to its right. To its right is right here, the hundreds place. So if I'm looking at those two and I'm trying to understand them, remember what we've learned. Think about it like this. This value is 700 and this value is 7,000. And what we have learned is that every time we go over to the left, it's 10 times greater. Another way of thinking about that is you could say that 700 times 10 is 7,000. And again, we know that because we've added on that 0. Remember your 0 trick. We had 2 zeros, now we have 3 zeros. Whenever we multiply by 10, we've added on a 0. So what could I write for this one? Well, I definitely could write that the value is 10 times greater. Would be a really great way to explain that. So you could say that the value of the 7 in the thousands place is 10 times the value of the 7 to its right. Now, let me say this. I hope that all of you realize, let me just scooch that up, that a lot of what I did in my answer was I restated the question. It says, how does the value of the 7 in the thousands place? Well, look, the value of the 7 in the thousands place, and then it says compare it, so I said is 10 times, and then it says, how does it compare to the value of the 7 to its right? And look here, I just wrote the value of the 7 to its right. So I really just replaced compare to with the answer. Otherwise, I just used, from here to here, I just used the sentence and I just replaced compare to with is 10 times the value. I just added that in. Okay, so that's this problem. Let's take a look at page 2. Try to be very gentle with this. Okay, so let's take a look at this page. It says a student makes the place value chart to show a number. So here I see my number. Very nice. So I have, let's read it, 900,000, 95, so 900,095. Oh my goodness, I am so reading that wrong. Let me do this the right way by adding in our comma so that we show our two periods. Oh my goodness, it's too late for me to be doing that. All right, so this is my thousands period, this is my hundreds period. So I have 995,000, this is the thousands period, 582. So again, 995,582. All right, now that I said that correctly, oh my goodness, let's take a look and see what are all the correct ways that we could write this. So again, I like to make sure that I don't get tricked. They're always trying to trick us with answers. So the first thing that I'm going to do is this one looks nice and easy to me, so I'm going to rewrite this the way I think it should be and see if it comes out the same. So I have 995, comma, 582. There were no zeros, so that was super easy. Do they match up? They absolutely do. Look, 995,582. So 995,582. I'm definitely picking that one. All right, so now this one looks like it's an expanded form. And now that I wrote this out, when I look at this expanded form, I actually can see there's a problem. Again, we like to ask ourselves often, what is the value of this number? And if I look at this 9 in the hundred thousands place, I can write its value underneath. I could write 900,000. You see how I wrote that value there to help me out? And then the value of this one is 9 10,000s, or 9t, remember 10 just sees t, 90,000. And again, I could also just be adding in all the zeros after the number. So here it would be 9 with 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I have 5,000s, so I'm going to do 5,000. Here I have 500s. Here I have 8 10s. And here I have 2 1s. So now I've rewritten this. And again, like I said, I could just be putting the zeros underneath. Like here, I would say I have 500. So anyway, when I look at this, I can clearly see that this has an error. This is not going to be right because I need to start at 900,000, not 90,000. So this one's very clearly wrong because of this starting point. All right, so let's see. Is this a correct way of saying it? So I see the 582 looks really good, except for there's a spelling mistake, and that wouldn't count. That's okay. So I'm just going to cross that little guy out. But anyway, 582 looks good. 582. Here it says 99,000. All right, I see 99,000, but what happened to my 5,000? Oh, this one is wrong too. So we know that one's wrong. All right, let's take a look at this one. Let's see, I wrote all my values there to help me out. Again, if another way that I could do this is I could start with this number, 995,582, and if I need help, remember I could go 9 and then just fill in all my zeros. Then I could put my next 9 and fill in all my zeros. Then I could put my 5 in, fill in all my zeros. Then I could put my 500, fill in my zeros, my 80, fill in my 0, and my 2. And here it is, all in expanded form for me. 900,000 plus 90,000 plus 5,000 plus 500 plus 80 plus 2. Again, you should be picking the way that works for you. I'm just giving you lots of options. All right, so let's see. 900,000, check. 90,000, check. 5,000, check. 500, check. 80, check. 2, check. Oh, that's definitely a correct answer. All right, now let's see. Is this word form right? Let's take a look. Here's our thing. Here's our standard form. That's the easiest one to go to for me. 995,000. 995,000. This looks good. 582. 582. This one is also a correct answer. So we had 3 correct answers. All right, we are down to the last problem. I'm so excited. Let's take a look at this problem. So, for this problem, let me just move this. I had a scrunchie on the table, got in the way. Here we go. It says, what number has 24 ones, 30 hundreds, 80 tens, and 10 thousands? Show your work. All right, so I am going to be doing my work down here, just because for me it's a little easier if I do it down there. So let's see how this goes. All right, so for me, when I do this, I think, or at least I think this would be helpful for all of you, is to use a place value chart when you're doing this type of a problem, because I think it'll help you to work through these. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw myself a place value chart. And oh, I have a lot of space, so I can actually write everything out. So I have my ones, I have my tens, and I am modeling for you how to do this so that you can do this yourself. I have my hundreds, I have my thousands, I have my 10,000s. Oh, I hear an owl outside. I don't know if you guys can hear it. And I have my 100,000s. Because I feel like this helps us when we're doing that whole exchanging stuff. Now I do like to add in that comma to show where the periods are. I think it's helpful. So 24 ones. Now this is like the opposite of smushing. We're going to unsmush or expand things out. So let me use a different color. So if I have 24 ones, remember our rule that we're not really allowed to just leave those there. We have to kind of move them over, right? We're not allowed to have 24 ones. Every time we get 10, we're supposed to move it over. Do you guys remember that? So if I have, here I'd have like 2 sets of 10. I'm going to take that 2 and move it over. So instead of having 24 like this, I'm going to write 24 like this. And that one's going to be gone. So I think that's helpful for you guys to see. So now this, again, is one way of doing this. So that's my 24 ones. Now, if I have 30 hundreds, I'm going to do this in a different color just to kind of keep things clean. If I have 30 hundreds, again, I would be able to regroup or rename and move some of those over. Remember, every time we get 10 hundreds, we can turn it into 1,000. So here, I have that 3 times. I'm going to take this 3 and I'm going to move it over there. So I end up with the 3 here and the 0 here. So all that I did was I took my hundreds, I had 30 of them, and I realized that that would really be 3,000. So I have 3,000s here. So now let's take a look at the next thing. So that's this part. So let's take a look at our 80 tens. If I have 80 tens, remember, every 10 tens is really 100. So what I can do is I can move that 8 over there. I can show that it really should be over here. So I really have 8 hundreds. So that's a better way of looking at it. So that one's done. And now let's go ahead and let's take a look at our last one, which is our 10,000. So let's first find our 10,000s. It's right here. And then I'm going to put 10 of them in here. But again, every time I get 10 of them, I can move it over. So that 1 is going to go over here. So what you can see is I'm just kind of unsmushing. I'm taking, anytime I have a group of 10, I can move it over 1. And now I can take a look and see what I have left over. So here I can see that I have 100,000. Let me maybe expand these down to show what I have left. And then we can write it out better. So what I have now is that I have 100,000. I have 3,000s. I have 0 10,000s. So I have 100,000, 0 10,000s. I have 3,000s. I have 800s. I have 2 10s. And I have 4 1s. And so what I have is 103,824. And you could absolutely show me this work, and I'd be pretty impressed with that work. I would say, all right, that works for me. Another thing that might be really helpful is if you took each of these and you just rewrote them up here. That would be another way. And then I want to show you a third way that you could do this really quickly. So a third way for doing this would be to take each of these and rewrite them over here. So I could say that I have 24 ones, So I'm going to write 24 ones. I have 30 hundreds. Now, if you understand 30 hundreds as being, as really being 3,000, as being 3,000, you could stack them over here. I have 80 tens, which that's my 800. And I have my 10 10,000s, which is really 100,000. Oh my goodness. So for some of you, it might be easier to stack and add like this. Again, I think probably this is easier for most of you, but that doesn't mean that this is a plus sign here. Sorry, let me make that a 1. But that doesn't mean that this wouldn't be easier for some of you. So I try to pick and choose what'll be easiest. Now, another way to show this, if you want, would be then to write it in expanded form. That would be a nice way to show this also, where if you did this work on the side, what you could do is then go ahead and write that you have here, you could say that you have, I would probably take them in order, but if not, you could take this and say that you have 100,000 plus 3,000 plus 800 plus 20 plus 4. And then I would show that that was equal to 103,824. So again, I think probably using the place value chart and smushing and unsmushing or sliding, really what we're doing is that we are converting or we're exchanging them, we are renaming them, regrouping them, we're doing all those wonderful things with these. And that's all the math vocabulary that you're going to be hearing. But that's really what we're doing with it. So I hope that that was helpful to you. I just was checking to see if I had any other notes of things to share. So if you have any questions, you know that we have office hours. This is available to you, and I will be doing Math Club on Wednesday morning for all of you to come to if you would like to do a last-minute review of these questions. So we'll be going over all these several times before the quiz.